Good morning, everyone. Let's wait maybe a minute more for other people to join, and then we can kick things off. All right, let's get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining on today's webinar, where we are going to talk about something new that as Bill 38 we have introduced into the market. Let's get started. So as of today, and also historically, we see that mobile application security has come a long way and has made a lot of waves in the market. We started off as basic RASP technology, whereas here you see it's traditionally part of the mobile application security suite, where you protect against application running in a rooted phone in a hooking environment and with other factors. This is the basic. Fast forward to today, we see that as attackers get more and more knowledgeable in understanding the semantics of the application, but also trying new methods to manipulate the application. And this is where network attacks come in, where somebody could try to sniff the traffic between the application and the server, and then try to hook that traffic or try to do a man-in-the-middle attack. Another aspect of attacks that we see today that happen to mobile applications are backend based attacks, or in particular manipulation of the APIs, where somebody would try to make requests to the application server from unauthenticated endpoints via repackaged apps. And this is something that we see a hike in the market as a security provider. The solution for that is to cater to all three of these elements when we consider providing security to the mobile applications. With Bill 38, we have a solution that we call Active Hardening. This Active Hardening component sits at the heart of our solution and can protect, not only protect for the application with the RASP technology, but also goes far beyond. Few of the key elements of Active Hardening component are app monitoring and pattern identification through its adaptive security profiles. So essentially, it looks at the pattern of how application is being used, what kind of environment it is running on, and then adjusts the security to eliminate the presence of these false positives. At the same time, it is not compromising on security. So it is, if it is that one element or two elements that are causing the problem in a specific geographical region or a specific application version, it can adapt, and then it can continue to provide a good user experience as well as maximizing security. The certificate management allows to essentially protect the APIs from being accessed. This includes application authentication. It includes protecting the endpoints, as well as ensuring that all the requests that come from this application endpoint to the backend are from authenticated and real endpoints and not coming from repackaged version of the application. And it integrates seamlessly with the existing infrastructure. The third component is cryptographic instance individualization, which means that each instance of the application that is downloaded by an end user is isolated in its cryptographic means, which means that the attack surface that an attacker could potentially not only exploit the application at hand, but also could deploy a large-scale attack that scales to other applications, is minimized. So every application instance is individualized, and we follow the good practices of public key infrastructure, key rotation, and so on. Last but not least component is the hardened security measures. So with the help of RASP on the client side, you get also these hardened security measures and XDR capabilities on the backend side, which includes device binding, application integrity, and so on and so forth. These mechanisms are critical for applications that have to go through certifications, such as in Germany, BSI, Gematik, and so on, and also beyond in other areas of the world. So this is the 4 components, but how does it translate into real world examples of helping the customers? And this is where we are going to dive into 4 different use cases that I have collected here, where I'm going to dig into sorry, what was exactly the problem that the customer was facing, and how did each of that problem was solved with the active hardening component. So for this first example, we will talk about a delivery and transport provider, where we know that the challenge that they face is coming from this large-scale application deployment. So by large scale, I mean that they are working in 70 plus countries across the globe, each of these providers. And when they have many different brands and many different applications and many different devices part of their ecosystem, it is a recipe for many problems, which can be false positive, which can be large-scale application crashes, and then complaints that follow from the users who are using these applications. Usually we see that in these kind of applications, the issues emerge from the driver side or the person who is providing the services. So how did we help them in this scenario? Is that we help them by spotting the pattern of application usage. This means that if the application is now going to be launched in a new country where they have to onboard as many people on the application as possible, this means that there are now going to be potential crashes, because in different parts of the region, there are different kind of devices. And these devices could have different kind of configurations. So each OEM will configure their device differently. How it results into security problems is that sometimes these permissions or these configuration create a false positive for, let's say, root detection, whereas it's not technically a device that is rooted, but it's just how the OEM has configured it. In this case, it is important to see the pattern of how application is being onboarded, what kind of elements are being detected, and then to adjust those exact security checks to make sure that the overall usage and the overall user experience is not compromised while this company is trying to onboard and catch the market share. So by deploying this technique, we ensure that there is a reduction in the false positives, there is a drastic decrease in the crashes and the complaints that they have previously faced in different regions as they launch their application. And it requires them to have a less hands-on management of the application protection, which means they are freed up to do other things that are more important, to improve the product, to focus on the business. And this approach helped them to solve the problem, whereas the problem was not technically arising from security by itself, but it was arising from the effective security management of this large-scale deployment. The second example that I have for you today is about the financial institution, in particular the banks. So with this with the banks, it is important to protect the mobile applications for many different reasons. It could be compliance. It could be because they want to manage the fraud. They want to protect the revenue. They want to reduce the costs that they invest in the fraud management capabilities. So what do they need in order to ensure that the attack surface is as less as possible for an attacker? Is that they need some kind of individualization of every application. And not only the individualization, but they need that visibility factor so that they can create compliance reports, they can manage the threats effectively, they can integrate it into their SIEM or SOC platforms, this reporting that comes from this very critical endpoint that is the mobile application. So in order to help them, the active hardening component provides each and every application this cryptographic individualization, which drastically reduces the attack surface that an attacker could take to potentially steal the cryptographic keys, for example, or because each application and its relative keys are unique. This is how we ensure that the attack surface for attacks like break once, run everywhere are mitigated. Then the built-in capability of the XDR, which is providing that visibility, that management capability of each and every single application is at its core. So one example of this is that this bank was trying to not only reduce the attack surface, but they wanted the exact visibility of what goes on in my application out there in the hands of the people. And this capability of the active hardening provides them the insights on each individual endpoint, what goes on with the application, what kind of attacks has been seen on this device and when, and then providing them the capability to take action on a per application basis, be it lock, be it wipe, be it asking for step-up authentication, in order to ensure that the original state of the application, which was untampered, is restored. And then the compliance-related reporting is part of the active hardening component that relates to the threat intelligence module. It allows them to have that visibility that they needed for this particular mobile application endpoints. As we go into the next example of how we have helped like different industries, we come across this automotive manufacturer, one of the largest in the whole world. They were essentially struggling with their APIs, API endpoints being stolen and being accessed by third-party applications via reverse engineered applications. So this is a great problem for them because it increases the operational costs of this automotive manufacturer. With the help of applications that are not manipulated in any way, they will ensure that every application or every request that is coming to my servers is coming from a real endpoint, so that at the end of the day, they are not entertaining requests for services, for different aspects of the application from endpoints that are not real. And this, of course, included not only the application itself, but also requests coming from the widgets and Apple Watch and other elements where the services could be accessed from. They tried to create a homebrew solution, which could not work, which could not provide them that level of authentication that they needed on the application and with the backend, and to ensure that the application remains unreverse engineered out there. So with the help of active hardening, we provided them an end-to-end secure app, which was withstanding against application reverse engineering attempts as well. So not only not only protecting the application against reverse engineering, but also encrypting the access to the APIs so that it is only accessible through a verified application on their side. This obviously included protection of these APIs embedded within the widgets, embedded within the wearable devices, and so on. And as a result of that, they were able to save a lot of costs on the infrastructure. Their requests that they were receiving per minute to the application backend almost cut in half. And this is where the applications like Active Hardening played a role to ensure that the existing infrastructure of the customer was something that it worked seamlessly with. So it did not need a lot of adjustment to the infrastructure on their side to ensure that, oh, if you need API protection, then you need to make so-and-so changes. And the result of it, was a secured app, reduction in the cost of this operational infrastructure, as well as relying that every request that they get from an application endpoint is actually coming from a real authenticated endpoint. The last example, but not the least, is a medical devices provider that we were working with here in the European Union. Their challenge was around go-to-market. In order to ensure that their application security is added fastest and uncomplicated manner into security is added in an uncomplicated manner into their mobile application so that they can reach their go-to-market timeline. So their challenge emerged from complying to strict regulations where they to some part had the experience and had the knowledge of application security, but investing the time in order to get that product out was then a critical decision of making or buying a solution. The benefit and the drawbacks of each approach are very clear. That if you make, you spend a lot of time, obviously, but then you have something that you have complete ownership of. And if you buy that, then you are actually reducing your go-to-market times in half or even to a quarter of the time than you would with a created solution. And it also needs to justify that anything that they're buying is not only fulfilling the requirements that they need to fulfill today, but also what might come up tomorrow or 6 months or 1 year from now as the regulations and as the elements of these requirements evolve. With Bill 38's last component of the security, the hardened security profiles, we were able to create a strong app device binding between the application and the device to ensure that the application lifecycle, like all the stages that this application goes through, it is tracked and it is something that would not change across its lifespan. So this kind of device binding is then hardened further by the active hardening component and with the backend-based threat intelligence. It also allowed them to ensure the integrity of the resources. So any assets, any sensitive assets that are bundled with the application needs the same security. So they were able to utilize that element as well. And the result of it was that they were able to slash the time to certification as well as the time for go-to-market drastically. With the help of overall the solution that we provide, as well as the security concept document, as other things, these are a lot of the times proving crucial when you are sitting in front of auditors and you have to explain every single approach that you took to protect the application. Therefore, it then reiterates the decision of buying a solution because then you get the commercial support of a vendor, and then you have a solution that is ready to go to market, which otherwise would have taken much longer, would have been a much difficult approach, as you need to take care of not only creating this security solution, but also justifying exactly how I added the security controls. So in light of all of this, where we started from as a application security, not only just Build 38, but also application security domain as a whole, all what we collectively are trying to do is to raise the awareness level of the vendors that exist in the market that use the application security to either comply, to either for their go-to-market needs, to solve their infrastructure-related challenges, to solve their false positive and large-scale deployment-related challenges. The main goal is to enable them to come to operational excellence, where the company that we work with or the company that you are follow the best practices of security controls that are there. You have to have the analytics or insights into the application. The DevSecOps practices should be observed, and security and the should be shifted left. The digital business model in such a situation that your company will have is then able to stay successful as you stay ahead of the security events that occur, and you are also able to focus 100% of your energy into propelling the business forwards. And as you propel the business forward, it is important that when you're doing these large-scale deployments to mitigate the false positives that might emerge from launching your application, launching your business in different parts of the world, and to have strong mechanisms of fraud management capabilities inside your best practices. So this collectively as a whole provides the means for a business to reach that operational excellence where there is low susceptibility overall to risk, whereas you can focus all your efforts in expansion of the business. So in essence, today we talked about the application hardening and what kind of elements it introduces into the application that were not there before in the market, and how it helps the security related aspects, not only from the RASP perspective, but then going beyond in a way that managing your infrastructure, managing your deployments, managing your each and every single endpoint. And as we see in the market, there is an increased attack surface. So not only the attackers are aware of what to do on the app and device side, but they know what to do on the network side and how to manipulate the APIs. Traditional RASP, as of today, it's not enough. It is time to think beyond, to think of a solution that can cater to your needs, not only today, but also as your business expands tomorrow. The application must have a strong management policy for false positive. This is becoming a crucial topic as we navigate along the AppSec topics with our customers, that traditional RASP by itself now today creates a lot of false positives. So it's important to have a policy that manages these elements effectively. Thank you so much for listening, and I believe we have some time for Q&A in case you have any questions. I believe we do have some questions. Somebody asked that what's the integration time for this component? So essentially, the Build 38 solution, it comes in the form of an SDK, and on the client side, that is mainly all that needs to be integrated, and the integration time for it are very, very less. It can be done within like a couple of hours, even though it's an SDK-based approach. Active hardening component just is a element that connects to the SDK. So as soon as you're done integrating the SDK, it is part of the solution. So you do not need to do something further on top of it to add these features and functionalities to the application. Somebody asked, what are the performance impacts for this application? The performance impacts are close to none. In our testing that we done internally and with our customers, we received no feedback that said that this application introducing a lot of latency, performance issues, CPU consumption, battery consumption, and so on. Meanwhile, we all know that security and performance have an inverse relationship to each other. So the more components that you add of security and a lot of background monitoring aspects that you add to the application, the more impact it will have. So traditionally, the approach is that we sit together with the customers to identify what are the crown jewels of the application, and then we deploy the solution to protect those. And in that way, we achieve a great balance between performance and maximizing the security. So any other questions before we close the session? Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. It has been a pleasure. If you would like to learn more, please give us a shout out. We are available to give you a personalized demo of how Build 38 can provide security and optimization to your mobile security infrastructure. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.